DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
All right, everybody, welcome into Concrete Jungle for this week, July 27th. Paul Russo, Kyle Evans here with you. Admittedly, without giving too much away, because I'm going to save it for the end of the podcast, probably going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast this week, admittedly. With the trade deadline next week, we have something pretty special in store. So, gonna hold that portion of things though. It's what we call a teaser, obviously, in the industry here. And we'll kind of get right into some things here, Kyle. We'll begin on the Mets side of things. Um, if it's any indication, because of course, we're humans. Bandwidth is at a premium for us all, no matter in life or in technology. But um, I knew we were close, and we still are close. The Mets are 18 games below 500. I was doing the quick math here, looking at the record. I'm like, we are too short of 20 games below 500, which is really crazy to think about here. Um, as we enter, I guess for lack of better terms, right, the last week of July and everything. But last week just not going great, obviously for the Mets once again. Only able to scrape a couple wins, one against Milwaukee, one against the Dodgers as well. And more stuff kind of trickling out, but given the fact that at least on one of the names in the trade market, we'll table that for some Yankee discussion. But again, Kyle, just once again, it's a 2-4 week for the Mets. For me on my end, once again as usual, got nothing really overall in that grand scheme of it, just because again, you're just like not even chipping at the iceberg. You're taking the hairdryer to it and melting it right in front of your fans.
Yeah, unfortunately, I said last week, if you're a Mets fan, you're kind of just watching the season for, I guess, just something to do at times. There's really no other way to look at it because there's just so many guys that are going to be moved out of here. I mean, I guess you could look at the young guys and be excited for the future, but I don't think if you're a Mets fan, you're really thinking that mindset because you have one of the highest or the highest payrolls in baseball. You acquired Juan Soto. You would think this would be the last place they'd be here on July 27th. So I know a lot of fans are probably just fed up, don't know what to really do about the situation, considering David Stearns isn't probably going anywhere anytime soon. And yeah, I mean, they have 56 games left. And like I said, after about a week from now, the team's going to look entirely different. So I don't really know what you do other than just have the game on for background noise.
Yeah, I mean, not to pile on here, right? But last week after we re-recorded the podcast, they officially activated Luis Robert. And within the same few days here, right, they lose Juan Soto at least for the next week plus at minimum. Um, it again for them, and I know it's like very similar for the Yankees, right? We're going to be talking about another injury there, but like it's just that consistency element for them too at this point, right? Like they just don't have the same. And I get, right, baseball, you're not probably going to have the same 9 guys necessarily, right? But that core, right? The same 5 or 6 for the most part. They just can't seem to just get everybody there at the same time either. And um, you know, it it's just not looking good there. If anything, it does feel like at least you're guaranteed to have Juan Soto going into at least the offseason anyway, if you're a Mets fan. Uh, but it's just one of those things where it's a tough pill to swallow. It looks like Clay Holmes, like we mentioned last week. I think you specifically, Kyle, brought up right how things are trending, looking like Holmes will probably have at least one start at the big league level here before the deadline is a prove it type scenario almost. He's rehabbing with Syracuse right now, so um, Yeah, just one of those things for them too, where it's just I don't even know if background noise is good enough right now in the sense of whatever, just for the fact you might be hearing some screams coming from the field of play even more.
Well, I mean, City Field still tries to make it seem like the Mets are, at the top of the division and everything's all fine and dandy. But yeah, I guess you would also turn on a Mets game if you're looking to watch certain players from another team. Because it's been, I mean, I guess they did play for the most part pretty well against the Dodgers. You look at some of the game scores, they did get a win, but as you mentioned, it's constantly, repeatedly a losing week. So there's no momentum going to be built here in 56 games. We know what they're going to do at the deadline. So game results really don't matter at this point. We probably shouldn't mention them anymore after this.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of it, if they would, if in the hypothetical, which is not going to happen, we're all pretty smart individuals, I would think. It would literally be the most historic, probably sports comeback in history if somehow they just, and it's not going to happen, even get to 500. So, yeah, a couple things though, like you mentioned, I guess maybe good vibes or anything like that. Carlos Beltran went into the Hall of Fame yesterday on Sunday. Third, third player to go in with a Met hat. Um, we talked a little bit about it back in the winter on here on Fair Weeks One. Anyway, we have an overall sports podcast. We mentioned it a little bit then. Um, it was still pretty cool to see. I know for Mets fans, if depending upon how you want to view things anyway, right? Jeff Kent went in as well. He has Mets ties. He began his career with the Mets at the pro level. I think he went in though with a Giants hat, so don't have to worry too much there on that front or anything like that. But yeah, for a guy who certainly take some of the other, I guess, this baggage with the Astros out of it. I mean, this is a guy who I think the Mets are probably going to be looking at anyway come the offseason on the managerial side of things again. Um, if you're a fan, I would say this might be one of your peaks at the moment in terms of happiness, for lack of a better term. Probably what occurred yesterday with Beltran.
Yeah, I would say that's probably, I mean, I guess the Mets did win also yesterday, but yeah, that's probably one of the lone bright spots of the week. I know a lot of fans have wanted Beltran to be back as a manager, and you could get why he didn't want to do it mid-season like this. I mean, there was reports that the Mets did reach out to him and he respectfully declined. And I mean, yeah, I mean, look at the situation they would have put him in. I think it was a good decision to not take the job right now and maybe see how it goes in the offseason. But yeah, I think we definitely could see him as the next manager.
And then really the only other thing for the Mets in terms of stuff today, they picked a fine weekend to honor 40 years of the 86 championship team. Um, which like I said, just a brutal weekend overall. What's funny is I'm pretty sure on the 30th they did it against the Dodgers as well, because I think that's the infamous Terry Collins and Tom Hallion mic'd up moment, as we know, the Terry, listen to me, Terry, uh, situation with Syndergaard throwing behind Utley. So I don't know if it's just deliberate the way they do it, or if it's just because obviously that's a team that they faced within that 86 run. I don't know, but yeah, just I mean they lost obviously on Saturday when the actual ceremony was, but I guess like you said, Kyle, at least you got the win on Sunday, but the 86 team honored over the weekend as well.
And it's funny you mention that because I just pull up their schedule and you look and they have a lot of promotional nights. Three straight Fridays. They've had fireworks. They have a Carlos Beltran jersey giveaway today. $5 Tuesdays. I mean, they're really trying to still haul in the fans. And I guess they do sometimes, usually the weekends more so, but I just don't know how you can just the last 2 years sit here and continue to do these types of things and think it's all fine. Like the passionate fans that have been around,
Yeah,
aren't accepting some of the stuff that's going on. But whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess I shouldn't really worry. It's not my team.
right. I think too they're doing the $10 preloaded tickets too automatically the rest of the year. So hey,
It's
anything
just
for
very Buffalo Sabres-esque
ooh,
right now.
ooh,
And I've dealt with that for years. So
yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, the Mets, Chicago, or sorry, I'm looking at the look at the Yankees stuff here, but the Mets, they're playing Atlanta to start the week, and then if there's any solace, you got Miami to end the week. Like I don't know, but at that point, that also might be a team that looks very different by the time I mean, maybe even get to the weekend. So, but either way, uh, who knows? So we move on to the Yankees, where I said to you off air, Kyle. I think it's where I'm going to kind of jump off here a little bit. Um, again, not the worst week in the world. Probably letting yesterday's game on Sunday dictate that a little bit more than I should. But still, though, when you kind of look at the numbers and stuff like that, I mean, kind of dealing again with some offensive issues to wrap up the weekend. Um, probably a little bit tighter games with Pittsburgh than you would hope at this time of year. Um, yeah, you get the series against Philly, but like I said yesterday, for me personally, left a bad taste in the mouth, and we'll jump into some other stuff here. But again, for the Yankees, they in the game sense, you survived the week, but no ground really made up. Just kind of like this one of those like you existed weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I if you saw their lineup last night, I was one of those people that laughed. I know they're facing a lefty, and Christopher Sanchez is very, very good, obviously. But I mean, when you look at that lineup and see how many right-handers that they stacked in there, and how bad their seasons have either gone or their track record, and the fact that honestly that they even scored 3 runs, I know one was unearned. I mean, I was impressed. I thought they were literally going to get shut out. It's clearly obvious that they need to acquire bats at the deadline. Of course they're going to be still counting on the injured guys, which obviously now Cody Bellinger going down is a big deal. But Aaron Judge, even if Aaron Judge comes back, I mean, we're going to see him in September. We're not going to see him in August. So I don't know why so many people are banking on that. But and then in addition to that, Stanton, a lot of people are banking on him, but he comes back just one wrong turn and he's gone. So they have to be very serious about this trade deadline and really acquire some pieces. I know they've talked about right-handed hitting outfielders, which of course I immediately thought, well, yeah, because that means Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez will be involved in a trade. Um, and they kind of have to, even though yes, their value's down because they don't have a ton of top 100 prospects. But yeah, they just, to me, they have a lot of work to do. And because of the American League being so down this year, and because of the lockout potentially being a big issue next year, this just seems like the year where Cashman needs to stop worrying about how much he gives up. Might have to overpay for certain guys, but it just seems like it's right there to get back to the World Series, if not win one. But we know how he operates. He loves his prospects. And I'm not saying, by the way, quickly, I'm not saying go trade George Lombard Jr. That's one of the guys I'd like to hold on to. But all the other ones, honestly, anyone should be up for grabs.
Yeah, I think we've seen it now play out in real time the better part of a decade with all these prospects that can't miss, right? And there's only been eh obviously Aaron Judge. I don't want to make it sound because hindsight's 2020, but it's like perhaps we were a little too harsh on Gary Sanchez at times and stuff like that. But for every one or two guys like that we talk about, right? Like Tyler Austin fizzled out very quickly, and guys like that, right? Take your pick and
Greg
down the
Bird,
line, and Greg Bird. I think you can certainly make the case at this point. Dominguez and Jones certainly are just not to where we were told they would be, right? Clint Jackson Frazier, we talk about him every now and then on this, but um, yeah, and you kind of mentioned anyway a little bit with Bellinger going down with the hamstring injury. Um, Jones gets called back up, and I don't mean to make this because there's a couple bullet points from the broadcast last night that are going to get brought up, but I don't mean to make this the NBC dunk on NBC broadcast moments here, but um, like Spencer Jones comes up last night late in the game, and like they're talking about like can't miss. I'm like, is he can't miss at this point? Like, you know, I've seen him. I've talked about it on here. I've seen him a handful of times in person, and I finally have maybe not a good comp, Kyle, but like I don't know. He's just kind of somewhere in that like Joey Gallo lane for me, right? Of just like, okay, this is just what he is. Either you have to accept it or move on from it. You know what I mean? So like I said, I don't know if maybe it's the exact right comp, but like that's the guy that's kind of really popped up for me now at this point with him. And you kind of mentioned maybe the combo of whether, like him and Dominguez here, and um we'll save I think one of the names for sure here, like I mentioned just for a second here, but like yeah, especially now too with Bellinger going down, it's like these guys have even heightened value at the moment though within the team. So I don't know. I still think, I mean, we talked about it on air last week. We talked about it off air last week. We're both of the mindset of send them both here if you can get the right guy. So, um, yeah, just I'm intrigued to see what kind of fully develops here over the course of the next 7 days.
Yeah, I think Spencer Jones would probably be the guy that I would send out first, unless, of course, they had to be included in the same package for someone big.
Right.
But um, he just strikes out. I mean, too much. We talked about it in AAA. 40% of the time, he's just not what the lineup needs. I mean, they already have a ton of guys that are going to strike out a lot, and we all know that. So it's not really a great fit. And a lot of these guys have been so hyped up. I mean, it all started with Anthony Volpe, the next Derek Jeter, Jason Dominguez. I mean, we're being showing clips of him at 17 years old when he proved nothing. And I know like he's kind of been. I mean, he has kind of played a lot. Sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
Um, he kind of has played a lot, but like at the same sense, like he also has had his opportunity now several times, and it just hasn't panned out. So yeah, I'm down to move some of the guys. I know Cody Bellinger being out like is news, but it does seem like he's going to come kind of back quick.
Hmm.
But at the same sense, he hasn't hit for 2 months.
Right.
It's been so odd. And again, I've said over and over again, I do think Cashman will make moves. I'm not saying they're going to be the ones that a lot of fans are dreaming on and hoping for, but um, yeah, this lineup is, I mean, what we saw again yesterday is just not, I know it's not what we're going to see in October. So as bad as we have to deal with it and see it here in July, I still, for whatever reason, have hope, and I think this team can still make a run. Their starting rotation is unbelievable. What Cam Schlittler is doing, especially on the road, I mean, you don't see the numbers he's putting up like that. Like if they could just make a few moves, I actually feel really good about the team.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the pitching because the top headline right now on for the Yankees on the MLB at bat, finally some Hedrick love happening here a little bit. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm with you though. It's weird because I think as baseball guys, we both want the Yankees to also go out and grab, or at least try to bolster the arms, obviously, right? Baseball in the postseason, um, you cannot have enough. You can't have enough of them, period. Like, let's just call it what it is. But like for the aspirations that the team has, that's what they want. But I mean, and I think this is where we can kind of jump into things now for them here, kind of approaching the trade deadline. And the stuff we talked about is, um, again, late in the broadcast last night, and the way NBC does it, I'm not a particular fan of it, but that's not here nor there in the case. But Joe Girardi was one of the color commentators last night, and I actually typically enjoy Joe for the most part on the broadcast. He's one of those baseball guys, obviously, who's knowledgeable and everything like that. But it caught me off guard when Benetti asked him, like, what do you think the Yankees need here going into the trade deadline? His first response was getting healthy. I'm like, we're doing this again? Like I'm aware, like I'm not like we're talking about, right, Kyle? Like we aren't dumb. You even brought it up. Like getting healthy would serve the Yankees very well. And that's perfectly true, obviously. But for Girardi's sake on a national broadcast, on Sunday Night Baseball, nonetheless, to say that needs to be the Yankees' biggest move, I'm like, what are we doing here, right? And that leads me into this other part where you mentioned the lineup yesterday, and my God, do they just really need some right-handed bats? We've been talking about it now the past couple podcasts to certain degrees, and I know the name that's now really surfaced here, as I mentioned, I was tabling it, has been Luis Roberts, kind of been the name now specifically outfield wise that's really gained some traction. over the weekend. But I forget admittedly who brought it up. So credit to whoever technically brought it up first. But it's a thought that I had too. It's like, okay, but do we want another injury prone player in this mix? And that's that double-edged sword that I think, the Yankees are have to tread a little bit here. It's going to be intriguing to see. But I was just like, it was like one of those like weird like compounding things on the broadcast last night where I was just like, what in the like what are we doing? Like obviously injuries and getting these guys healthy would help, but to sit here and act as if just getting Aaron Judge back, like you said, right, Kyle, like September is going to solve issues. It's not going to solve an issue in the sense of this next month, right? You still need to survive the next month. The Yankees are incredibly lucky. The AL is just still the overall mess it is. And that's me skipping over the fact that Boston has been red hot. They've made their first move here at the deadline, albeit probably minor in the grand scheme of it, but like we'll see how that plays out, right? Bringing Curtis Mead from Washington. But like, so you have a team that's been red hot the past month plus making a move. You have the team directly ahead of you in the Rays who are linked to a couple different guys who, to be fair, as the Yankees, you probably should also be linked to as well. I know they aren't going to, but as you mentioned, it's hard with the track record not to be, for generous terms, cautiously optimistic about what the front office will do here going into Monday.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people nationally, I would say, and like people that don't really watch the Yankees every night, always say like, yeah, the first thing is getting Aaron Judge healthy, and yeah, that of course that's the case. But I mean, how many times has Aaron Judge been healthy going in October, and is he the difference maker? No, because it's not about one player. Um, so yeah, like obviously, duh, like of course he's the number one priority. But on top of that, moves have to be made because I say September when I expect him to be back, but the guy still hasn't even swung a bat now since May 31st. So like he's only been able to do lower leg workouts. He hasn't been able to do anything upper body, no lifting, no workouts, nothing, and it's about to hit August. I mean, that I think September is even kind of being generous. I mean, you know how long it takes for someone to get their swing down, and it's going to even start slow ramp up, like tee, like hitting off a tee, and
Right, and not to interrupt you, but like I know Girardi mentioned even last night, he kind of dropped the nugget that like he's supposed to get some more imaging done this week at some point. So like, yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it a ton, and you're right. Like I still think September's probably being optimistic at best, to be
and
totally honest.
yeah, and like a lot of people, and obviously we all love that, but a lot of people are expecting him to come back and just be the MVP judge. I mean, we might be seeing kind of like the April judge that we've seen in some seasons where he struggles out of the gate, and that wouldn't be good going into October. But I mean, that's just kind of what happens when you have such a long layoff. So yeah, like obviously getting Aaron Judge back is huge, but it's not all Aaron Judge. So yes, they have to make moves. They have to make, I would say, really think they need to make three or four moves, to be honest. Anything less is kind of be is going to be a disappointment. And some of the names that I've seen floating around too, like some of the right-handed outfielders, right-handed hitting outfielders that I've seen John Heyman mention is kind of funny because like those aren't really needle movers. Like I'm seeing, and then I see him throwing like George Springer at the end. Yeah, the Blue Jays are really going to
But
trade George Springer to the freaking Yankees.
but also too. So let's do the let's be nice to Heyman thing here for a second. Even if Springer is in the mix on this, do we not remember the fact that he gave up an inside park home run to Juan Soto 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, yeah,
Like what are we doing?
yeah. So I just laughed at some of the names: Jorge Soler, Joe Adell. Oh, why guys that are going to strike out 30, 40% of the time, like Spencer Jones again? Like,
And and by the way, out of those names you mentioned, Adele's the only one who plays the outfield regularly.
yeah. And then
So
Luis Robert Jr., as you mentioned last week, injury prone, obviously. Guy really hasn't stayed on the field in what, how many years? Constant lower
yeah.
body injuries. So I don't know. But yeah, there's just certain guys that aren't going to be very appealing, but then there's guys that are. And I mean, you have to be realistic, especially when it comes to the Yankees and Brian Cashman. They won't overpay. In fact, like we all think they're going to get Ryan Jeffers. You don't know because
And
other teams want a catcher.
and by the way, we haven't talked about it. I didn't fully plan on talking about, but with Shea Langoliers going down for the season, the price of the catcher market also just went up for these guys.
Yep. Yep.
So, like, whether it be Jeffers or I know the Goodman thing is kind of cooled off, but reheated, but cooled back off again in the past couple days. Like, no matter what, now that position's gone up too in terms of what the price is going to be for some of these guys.
You know what? I could be very wrong, but I wanted to mention these two names because it feels so like a Yankee move.
Mm.
Everyone wants the Ryan Jeffers, the Goodman trades to happen, but I wrote down the two people that I think they're going to end up with. They're going to end up with the Twins' backup catcher, Victor Carantini,
Uh,
or Jonah Heim. It just seems such a Yankee Cashman move. Like, oh, let's go out and really acquire what they want to call an offensive catcher, and those
Jonah
are going to
Jonah
be
Heim can't hit in
underwhelming.
Sacramento.
I know, but I wrote down those two names just in case it does happen because it
Yeah,
seems such a Yankee move. We're
yeah.
looking for a more top name, and I guess I even put this guy down too. But I mean, he has terrible framing skills, Tyler Stevenson, and the Yankees cannot stand catchers who can't frame.
What's funny is the Reds have kind of became a team for me where there's a couple guys I wouldn't mind the Yankees knocking about, and one of them just got placed on the injured list and is likely to miss the rest of the year. Spencer Steer.
Yeah, true.
So, um, I wouldn't hate Stevenson, but yeah, I mean, you're. It feels weird saying it this way, but you're kind of going from the extreme of Austin Wells to the extreme of Stevenson in that case, right? Where
Yep.
you're the only reason why you're bringing Stevenson's for the bat.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
just
And by the way, it just triggered for me too because in the past couple of days I forgot that Rutschman was also just put on the injured list too again. It's like the catching thing's just going to be absurdly premium now for
that's
no matter what.
Yeah, and that's why I think someone will probably overpay for Jeffers, and the Yankees don't like doing it, and especially when he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. And I was just mentioning three guys that I think are just someone they're going to probably try to acquire. They're going to try to, I think that no matter what, they're going to get a catcher. That's why I mentioned those names. I
Hmm.
just think it's going to be very underwhelming. And if it is Jonah Heim, I think a lot of people are going to laugh too, because like you said, he's had his struggles, and I mean since 2023 when he won the Gold Glove and had a great year, World Series run. I mean he hasn't really been the same guy. So yeah, I think they're gonna make the moves is what I'm saying, but they're gonna be underwhelming, and it's gonna be a typical Yankees trade deadline.
Yeah, we'll see. I saw other names too pop up here. I know we're kind of going down a different path here necessarily, and we're pretty much done, I think, with the podcast overall today. But like, it's very weird to me that some of the stuff I've seen pop up, and it's not even so much from actual like reporters, but like, man, it'd be really interesting if the Yankees somehow pull the thing and it's like, oh, Jeremy Pena's a Yankee, like stuff like that. And I'm just like, you want to know what? I'd have a tough time saying no to it in the weird way, but I don't know how much of it is actually going to be there. Like the other part too is like I don't a team like Houston I have a hard time believing would sell. You know what I mean? I could see them obviously listening to offers, but I couldn't. I don't see them moving on from a guy like Pena for pennies on the dollar just because. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I keep laughing because CJ Abrams is the name that continues to come up. I saw trade packages being put together this morning by The Athletic,
Hmm.
and people are saying it's going to take Anthony Volpe, George Lombard Jr., and a couple pitchers to acquire CJ Abrams. Would you do it under control through 2029? CJ Abrams is only 25 years old, and I'm just like, it's not happening
Well,
enough.
right, and the Nationals even said, I think it was Saturday, like it's like, yeah, we're gonna sell, but we're also gonna try and buy. So that tells me they might not be as keen as moving Abrams as they once were.
Yeah,
You
and I
know,
mean, since the All-Star break, what he's doing is incredible. I mean, his
the best hitter.
he's like, it's going to take a lot to acquire him, especially how many years he has left under control. And Luis Ariz won't happen, even though I said that's my favorite option. Because they're not going to get rid of Jazz, and Luis Ariz will not move around the infield. He's only going to play second base. It's so funny though. He's having his career year at second. Luis Ariz is,
Hmm.
and he's bouncing back offensively after his worst average last year. But yeah, I just don't think the Yankees will do it. But it kind of makes me mad though because Jazz is going to be a free agent anyway at the end of the year. Like, wouldn't you want to replace Jazz for the final 50 games with a guy who's going to hit leadoff, who's going to put the ball in play, who only has 19 strikeouts, who's going to be that table setter that you need? And like I said, he's having a career year defensively. I mean, how many times has Jazz just lollygagged and that second made bad throws? I mean, I just feel like because we're only going to get this for 50 games, I would take the guy that's going to get on base,
Yeah.
be the table setter, the leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
I mean, would you rather get something for Jazz? I mean, he's literally, they're not going to extend him. They're not bringing Jazz back. This is 50, 55 games or whatever is left. That's it, I think. So that's why I would love to move, but I know there's no chance of that happening. But I just want to mention it. And I think Luke Weaver is a very possible situation.
So you've been kind of sniffing that too, then. Okay.
And I
Just
think it's funny though too that the New York Post keeps saying that the Yankees still love Clay Holmes as well.
yeah.
Nah, they're not bringing Clay Holmes back. If anyone, it's Luke Weaver, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think they know what they're going to get when Clay Holmes is pitching for the Yankees.
That and I think Holmes might be stuck in the starter ways now. You know what I mean? And that's just not like we talked about. It's just not really what the Yankees need.
Yeah,
Um, I'll bring a before we head out. I'll bring a conversation we talked about off air last week to here. It's kind of like what we talked about involving the Twins, right? Where it's like in a pipe dream world, in the hypothetical, if you could somehow get Joe Ryan from the Twins in a package, you would do it. Is it possible, Sess? Is it probable? No. I mean, I think both of us are smart enough to recognize that, but it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't think you'd say no, but because it's not what you need, I would rather spend those assets elsewhere. So,
yeah, it's just like the Tarek School. I saw a report again last night. I forgot some reporter was like, yeah, the Yankees are going to be on. Like, I mean, obviously they're going to call, but why would they go all in when they have a great starting rotation right now, and they have other areas of need, including catcher, and everyone knows they need a catcher. So if you're going to overpay for someone or have assets to trade, you would do it for the top needs. And if they don't do it that way, if they operate the opposite way, then Brian Cashman has to go. I mean, any fan could tell you that like catching, bullpen,
hmm
and yeah, right-handed hitting outfielder would be the ideal situations. And I would really watch out. I think Will Warren could be on the move at some point in the next week.
yeah, I'm with you on there, and I think that's a good place to leave it for this week, Kyle. So, next week, our plan is gonna be unique, I would say. So, we're planning on not doing the podcast in our traditional form next week. Instead, we're gonna do something we haven't done here. I think kind of period on Finger Lakes one. So we're going to be doing a live kind of reaction and review of the trade deadline. I don't know the exact time we're going to start just yet, but we're going to hang out until 6 p.m. when the trade deadline wraps up, uh, and kind of go from there. So I think the plan would probably be maybe hop on. I don't know about 4 o'clock, but maybe sometime between 4 and 4:30. And well, be myself, be Kyle. I'm trying to maybe grab another person to come on in and discuss the deadline, and we'll have a nice little kind of instant reaction as things hopefully transpire, come down to the wire, and kind of launch the final third of the MLB season. So a lot to look forward to next week. Like I said, it's going to be different and new for us, and can't wait to kind of do it. Um,
Yeah, and just for
yeah,
reference, last year it was very busy. While the Yankees were actually playing an afternoon game, remember they got David Bednar, Camilo Duvall, Jake Bird, Jose Caballero. So I guess and you actually leading back a few years ago too, Keenan Middleton was like a last second deadline day move too. So I think Cashman probably will make some moves on the actual day. So yeah, we should have, I would say, a lot to talk about. And then of course with the Mets, they have a lot of guys that are just on the table to be traded. So that could happen at any point that day.
yeah. So we'll have a lot to look forward to there. Like I said, it's going to be a new endeavor for us. We've never really done anything like this, so. Looking forward to next week. It's going to be certainly a fun version or edition of the podcast, no matter how you want to look at it. So, appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in this week. You can find Concrete Jungle here on FingerLakes1.com, the FO1 YouTube channel, the audio only edition of the podcast available on all major podcast platforms. Enjoy the week, everybody. It's going to be a little bit chaotic, we think, and we'll jump in and see everybody next Monday afternoon. Enjoy the week, everybody. Talk again then.